right, go ahead, Jennifer.
Okay, I guess we're going to get started. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jennifer Sloot, and I'm the Executive Director of the Atlantic Council for International Cooperation. Before we officially get started, we want to take this opportunity to acknowledge Treaty 1752. I'm a white settler. I live and benefit from the unceded and unsurrendered territory of the Mi'kmaq. By living here, I am bound to support and uphold the treaties of 1752, and I stand with our province's Indigenous people. I'd like to welcome you all to day 2 of ACIC's annual symposium entitled Just Climate Action, Gender, Democracy, and Local Movements. This year we have come together to discuss what justice means in the context of climate change, how we as citizens can develop local and global strategies to counteract it, and the structural inequalities that must be transformed for a just climate transition. For those of you who are not part of our network, the Atlantic Council for International Cooperation is a coalition of individuals, organizations, and institutions working in the Atlantic region of Canada to build and support just, equitable, and sustainable communities locally and globally. ACIC connects leadership across generations by strengthening members and partners, bridging dialogue, and building networking and learning opportunities. ACIC also represents and amplifies the voice of Atlantic Canada and connects the Atlantic with other provincial, national, and international stakeholders. As part of our work to strengthen the effectiveness of ACIC members and partners, we strive to provide opportunities and space for peer learning. The aim of our symposium is to strengthen individual and collective capacity and highlight and celebrate important work being done in the Atlantic region. It will also increase our dialogue on making connections between the issues and the actions necessary to create a sustainable future, both locally and globally. Participants here today include international cooperation practitioners, youth, Indigenous leaders, local governments, feminists, environmentalists, issue-specific experts, advocates, and academics. Through a series of Iceberg sessions, we yesterday began to explore what a climate just world looks like, who is impacted by climate change and why, and then today we will discuss how together we can create a climate just world. We call them Iceberg sessions because we are asking questions in each panel, just the tip, and we're hoping that all participants will leave our virtual panels with many more. During our panel this afternoon, which follows the presentation of the Shirley Case Leadership Award, our panelists will answer the question, how do we create a climate just world? It's a question that we hope will guide discussion, but it's also a question that asks a lot more. How do we create a climate just world using a gender lens and an intersectional lens? How do we create a roadmap that makes sense to youth, to Indigenous communities? Who is currently deciding how we define a climate just world? Where are we currently and how do we get to our goal? What is the path? Who should get a say in this path? And do they have a say now? Are you sure? There's so many questions submerged. Leaders in their own right, and that it is essential to listen to and empower youth as future power holders and decision makers. Today we will hear from Jacinta Realine, who is from the Aishalton, I hope I'm pronouncing that well, village located in the Wapichan territory of the South Rupununi, Guyana. She is currently a part-time local broadcaster. Through this medium, she's able to reach her peers to share messages on important issues, especially as they relate to land and resource management. Joshua Fredericks is an Indigenous youth from the Makushi tribe of the South Rupununi. He is currently serving as the youth chairperson for his local village youth group and the chairperson for the South Rupununi District Council Youth Arm. He plays a critical role also supporting his village council in its efforts to fight the spread of COVID-19. Lauren Tiley has a passion in finding intersectional approaches to combating the global crisis. She will speak to us today about her work with Engineers Without Borders and Extinction Rebellion Youth. And last but not least, Ashley Copage is the program manager from the Miigwech Green Communities program at the Confederacy of Mainland Mi'kmaq. Ashley has a strong interest in inclusive education, sustainability, and food sovereignty, and this afternoon she will be guiding the discussion with our youth panel. Our focus on climate change, or climate action, and local movements is so critical at this point in time. As we look at the dimensions of climate change, we start to think about who creates the policies and makes the decisions that impact us globally, and who feels the greatest impacts of climate change. Yesterday, we heard from Delvina Bernard, who joined us from St. Peter's Bay and spoke to us about the situation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous lobster fishers and the escalating violence that we have been seeing over the past 2 weeks. She spoke to us with anger, justifiable anger, and I think that we all need to think about some of the words that she shared with us. We also heard from Dr. Walden about the impacts of environmental racism, the health impacts, the social impacts, and how the effects are gendered and racialized. And we heard from all of our panelists about what happens when there is a disconnection between power holders and those without power, those who create the systems and those who are negatively impacted by the systems that are created. I'd like to take this moment to welcome our youth delegation. We have 20 youth from around the world who've worked with the ACIC staff team members, Jackie Dowling and Leanne Lavelle, to share their experiences and to learn more about climate change. They join us today from Tanzania, Ethiopia, Peru, Guyana, Haiti, and Atlantic Canada. And so a big welcome to all of you. Finally, our hope is today that we will be able to put the ideas that we've heard about both yesterday and today into action. And we invite you to stay with us for the full afternoon so that you'll be able to give input into what next. In a series of breakout groups, we'll discuss how we can take action on what we've learned and what the next steps are for combating climate change here in the Atlantic and around the world. And now, without further ado, it's my pleasure to welcome Elder Joe Michael. If we were in person, I would have taken a moment to present him with tobacco and red cloth, but since we're virtual, this ceremony is taking place in person with Janelle sometime later this week. So a bit about Elder Joe Michael. He's made a lifetime commitment as a pipe carrier and a sacred firekeeper, helping all races better understand Aboriginal culture. He is from the community of Indian Brook, Hants County, Nova Scotia, and is a highly regarded and experienced person with over 27 years as a police officer in the RCMP and as a security officer at the Halifax Stanfield International Airport. He is also an accomplished professional who exhibits excellent communication and writing skills necessary for formulating and articulating ideas through creative programming and presentation and demonstrating fair and ethical leadership, which inspires excellence. His eldest son, James Michael, is a Mi'kmaq lawyer, the first in Nova Scotia. And yesterday, Joe wrote into the chat box that he has a doctorate from Acadia University. So over to you, Joe.
Thank you, thank you. Great. I'd like to welcome everybody here today. I hope that it finds everybody in good spirit and good health. The thing that I wanted to pass along today is the experience I have been working with youth. While in the police force, sometimes, most times, my hands were tied because of things that I was not allowed to do. But when I left the police force, my hands became untied, and I wasn't dictated by policies or directives or any.
Excuse me, sorry to interrupt, Joe. We're having a hard time hearing you. Could you get a little bit closer to your computer?
Okay. covers a wide range. I noticed that a lot of our youth were falling in the cracks. I tried to help, but because of my current career and stuff like that, my hands were held or tied. And now that they're untied, I am not bordered by policies or directives. So my goal when I retired was solely for the youth. The adults could look after themselves, no help, because they were already molded in their lifestyle. It's the youth that I really paid attention to. And part of that, I was given the opportunity to participate in classes at the Canadian University, talking to youth. Some of them are just getting out of high school. Some of them have 2 years under education in Acadia, but yet they were very young in life. So my primary role was talk about governance, environment, but not the environment of the sun and the earth and water, but the environment where they're going and where they're coming from. So those things were very important. And I spoke a lot about culture awareness, and things like that. And that most of those students, I was surprised that they really never had any contact with First Nations. They might have known there was a community in Nova Scotia somewhere, but never had any direct contact with anybody. So it opened their eyes up, and they became very inquisitive. They had a lot of questions, and I really enjoyed working with the students, and got to a point where when the classes were over, they hung around and they wanted to know more about our culture, our governance, and what our concerns for the environment. Now, the environment I'm talking about is the trees, water, and stuff like that. But also the environment, where's our youth heading? Aboriginal youth heading? And I just tell them that, they need to be educated, they need to go to school, they need support, and they need a lot of mentoring. And that's what I'm doing. I have a teepee in my house, outside my house there, and they're just slowly coming around for the mentorship, and that's good. But they want to go back to their culture, and I know there's 2 youth there with their regalia on their head. That's part of their culture, and which is nice. I like seeing that stuff. And I dealt lots with other universities. Mountain Vincent had a huge, diverse group that came all over the world, through ceremonies and talking about cultural awareness. And I dealt a lot on the Cody Institute. The majority of them were from Uganda, and up in Africa, along the coast, I don't know what name, but they were quite impressed. And I enjoyed that. But personally speaking, I don't think I would go to those countries because I just can't afford it. But when the countries go to you, it makes it really interesting that 5 or 10 countries, people from different countries coming and they're sitting in front of you. It's quite an experience where one group is from Indonesia and the other group is from China and the other one from different nations. What's really interesting, listen to their stories and how parallel First Nations have with them. That was quite remarkable, I find, the parallel that they do with governments, how they their daily lives are so close to what we've been suffering, and what we've been trying to achieve. So those youth I spoke to were very interested. But it would be nice. I think it would be nice if they could come to communities like Indian Brook. That's what I would like to see. We enjoy, the food, the dancing, the drumming, the singing, in different rituals. How some government try to take it away from us. They even try to take away our language, and they didn't succeed. And from the teachers, from the elders, we maintain our heritage and our culture. So that's really important for our young people, the youth, to maintain their culture, maintain their language, maintain their rituals, so that they can continue on and teaching their children. And I find Confederacy Mainland have an interest in our resources. They have a very good team. They look after a lot of issues that put up the people who want to touch. So they are really truly protective of our feelings, our needs, our faith, things that we must address someday. But the people that are they need to go to education, they need to go to school, be engineers and stuff like that. So I see that coming more so than, but there's so many things that I want to talk about, but I'll just kind of just use something here. And I thank you for allowing, and thank you very much for your time to and
Joe, it's starting to get harder to hear again.
You hear?
Yeah, it's really, really faint.
All right. Now, anything? Uh-oh, you know what happened? Can you hear me? No?
It's faint, but I can hear you.
You wouldn't believe it. The only time my hearing aid quit on me. And what it is,
That's better.
I have a new hearing aid, and I attach it to my computer so that it doesn't interfere with anybody else. Just, today's gadget. Hang on. How's that? You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, now I was just closing off on the what I was kind of saying, and I'm saying education is such an important thing. Mentor our youth. Even somebody who's been out of school for a long time, and when they find their pathway or get back into their life, they could be in their 30s or late 20s, whatever. I think if we support those individuals in proper system, the education system, I think it would make a better life for them and for our people. You hear me?
It's really, really hard to hear you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's what makes me heard, I guess. But anyway, no, I'll just end it there, and I thank you for listening to me. Okay, and there's Ashley. You're from Cuba, isn't it? Huh?
Yep.
Yeah, are you not your mom there, with my son there.
Jennifer, yeah. Rufus is my grandfather.
Yeah, Rufus is your grandfather.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Then. Okay. Well, nice talking to you guys. Thank you. I'll just stand by. And the other, hopefully not be in the way.
Okay, thank you so much, Joe, and sorry about that. I think we were having some technical issues there with hearing you, but we did hear enough to be able to understand your key messages. So thank you so much for that. I'm going to turn it over to Janelle Frail now for a moment to go through some housekeeping issues.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks, Joe, for your words. I appreciate those. I just want to acknowledge the land that where I am today in Halifax. It was called Chipuktuk before it was named Halifax, and so wanting to acknowledge the land that we're on here. And I encourage people, if you know what land you're on and ancestral land you're on, to add that to the chat box now. And then you can also sign up for our newsletter. So that will be put in the chat box as well. So have a look at that. There's a closed caption option today on our session. At the bottom of the screen, there's a closed caption button. You can turn that on to have another accessibility for everyone. A thanks to Roshni and Leanne today, who are behind the scenes for tech support. So I appreciate them. If you have any tech questions, you can add it to the chat box. If you have any questions for the panelists, you can add that to the Q&A box, which is on the bottom of your screen as well. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say, Jennifer. So back over to you. Thanks.
Thanks, Janelle. So now we're going to move into the presentation of the Shirley Case Leadership Award for Global Citizenship. And I'll speak a little bit about the award. So the award was created in the spring of 2009 by the ACIC Board of Directors. Is offered, as I said, annually, and it has 4 objectives. The first is to officially recognize leaders in Atlantic Canada as they are actively involved as global citizens. The second is to draw public attention to the full scope of global citizenship and engagement activities. The third is to inspire individuals to continue their involvement in the international cooperation movement. And the fourth is to honor the memory of Shirley Case. The award is presented annually to an individual in Atlantic Canada who has demonstrated a spirit of global citizenship in a local, national, or international capacity, and who has helped create a more just and sustainable world. I'd like to introduce and welcome today Pam Ellis, who is Shirley's sister. We're thrilled to be able to have Pam here today to present the award. We've been giving out the award for more than 10 years now, and this is the first time that we've been able to have a family member present the award in Shirley's honor. Pam is based in BC, and because we're going virtual this year, she's got the opportunity to officially participate. And I will let Pam introduce the winner of the award for today. So over to you, Pam.
Why? Thank you, Jennifer. Why is a traditional thank you in the territory that I live in. So my name is Pam Ellis, and I'm the proud sister of these things. So my sister was a selfless person who whose goal in life was to help others in numerous ways. So she began her education with a degree in leisure services, and then went on to a master's in foreign securities and peacekeeping. She worked in many different countries, often through NGOs and different organizations. And so she worked in refugee camps in Chad. She did a mission trip to Guyana. She worked for a company offering aid to local people after the tsunami in Indonesia. As Jennifer said, she worked with ACIC as an intern through an NGO in Nigeria, and then in Canada, working for Care Canada and for Katimavik. She always had an interest in empowering women and children through education. And so it's very fitting that Delvina is going to receive this award when you hear of her accolades and all of the things that she has done to empower women and children, and also people with other societal challenges. I can see that if my sister were alive today, her and Delvina would probably be a force to be reckoned with. So my sister had gone to Afghanistan in 2008, and it was still a time of lots of strife in Afghanistan, and our family, you know, questioned her choice to go there, but her words that we couldn't argue with were that she felt that the good she could do there outweighed the risks. And ultimately it didn't. She was killed there, along with another Canadian and an American gal and one of their Afghani drivers. And we're fortunate that she crossed paths with so many other powerful people that have allowed her legacy to go on, such as Jennifer. So I am just going to pass it over to Delvina to speak a bit about her accomplishments, and congratulations, Delvina, on the Leadership Award for Global Citizenship. When I read everything about you, you are certainly a deserving recipient of that award. So congratulations on your work.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. Before I say anything official, I also would like to acknowledge that my home here in Halifax sits upon unceded Mi'kmaq territory. So I'm grateful to my Mi'kmaq sisters and brothers for this privilege, especially as local Mi'kmaq lobster fishermen battle violent attacks and illegitimate challenges to their treaty rights. So I am very grateful. I also want to acknowledge my African Nova Scotian ancestors who came to Nova Scotia under very oppressive conditions as either enslaved people or recently released from slavery, former slaves. They made a way out of no way and blazed the path for survival for myself and many generations before me whose shoulders I stand on. So good afternoon, friends and colleagues and members of the Atlantic Council for International Cooperation. Thank you, Pam, for sharing the stories of your sister. Amazing soul. I had gathered some information as best I could, but it's so different. Coming from a family of 7 girls, and I know how sisterhood is so powerful. Hearing you speak of her does so much justice or give me an insight into the kind of spirit that she was, and the fact that her spirit continues to live on today through her good name, good deed, and good family life that you were helping to carry on. So I'm very honored. Also want to acknowledge Ms. Kate Higgins, who I believe is listening in. She's the acting director of the Oxfam Canada, and other distinguished guests online here today, including Sister Janelle as well, who organized much of the logistics between her and I, and me being online here today. So I appreciate that. So I just want to say that briefly, I am extremely honored and humbled to be receiving the Shirley Case Leadership Award. And it's even a greater honor, I believe, to be placed in such distinguished ranks as past recipients. And of course, as we heard, the beloved Shirley Case herself, who we know was the ultimate example of global citizenship. And so it's no surprise that ACIC created this award in her honor. And I just feel so honored to be standing in her shadow to receive this award. I'm truly grateful, as I said, to the Atlantic Council for International Cooperation for recognizing my work as a social justice advocate and institutional change activist. I won't bore you with the details of my work and background, but if you got the press release that went out inviting you to be here today, if you're participating, you would have had an opportunity to read that. And if not, I invite you to do so. You know, but more importantly, I want to, but more importantly, I guess I want to say that to the extent that I'm being honored this afternoon as someone, I guess, espousing characteristics of a global citizen, I think I want to say I'm grateful that this council, first and foremost, recognizes the importance of celebrating the ideals of global citizenry and what it means to engage in truly transformative leadership, as Shirley Case did. Leadership that's committed to achieving social justice, leadership that's committed to gender justice, the elimination of racism, world peace, human rights and dignity, and as well respect and reverence for our environment and Mother Earth, as we are talking here in this symposium about sustainability. I think that really now, more than ever before, as we are all in this era of a world pandemic, of Black Lives Matter, demands for reparations, and calls for truth and reconciliation, we must have a global mindset, and we ought to adopt the principles of the Zulu phrase that I love so much, Ubuntu. I know you have all heard of it, which simply means, I am because you are. I am because you are. And that really speaks it all, because we are a global family. So it's very vital that we embrace the notion of global citizenship, so that what we do here, we may think globally, but we need to act locally, but it's also to think locally, but don't be afraid, as Shirley Case was, to act globally, to leave and get out of our own advantaged conditions, to sacrifice. And we know she paid the ultimate price. But I believe truly that her example is one that we cannot let be in vain. And I'm so glad ACIC has not let it be in vain, or her family. And I truly will be one to stand and advocate for the work that she did in the concept of global citizenship. So again, in closing, I'd like to thank the award selection committee, all the staff and members and board of the Atlantic Council for International Cooperation. Again, Ms. Kate Higgins, her staff at Oxfam Canada, who graciously nominated me for this award. Janelle, I want to thank you again for all the logistical coordination. And Pam, really feel very honored that you are here to witness this special occasion, given that in past years you had not been able to, but I guess this is one of the, sidebar blessings of the pandemic, that we get to have people who are 4 hours away by time, and that you're here, and that I've got to meet you, I guess, at least online. And who knows, in this pandemic again, I hope our spirits will cross. I'm in Vancouver often. I have a sister there. So I thank everybody for listening in and for giving me this opportunity and for giving me this platform. I thank you for this platform so that this can echo the work that I have stood for and will continue, and to have an opportunity to build allegiances with ACIC. I am very familiar with their work already through Oxfam and other relationships, but I'm looking forward to even strengthening those ties. And so, without saying much more, I again am humbled to be receiving this award. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Delvina. I'm sure it's evident to everyone why we chose you as the recipient of this award. I know that you suggested that people could read a little bit about you, but if you'll just allow me a moment, I'd like to read a little bit so everyone is aware of how impressive you are. So I'm just gonna read from the press release. So Delvina Bernard is a 6th-generation African Canadian from Nova Scotia who traces her Canadian ancestry to the Black Royal Empire Loyalists of 1783 and the Black refugees of 1812. Miss Bernard is an educator, civil rights and human rights activist, singer, songwriter, and institutional change strategist. As principal founder of the Africentric Learning Institute in Nova Scotia, Delvina has been at the forefront of the Canadian Africentric education movement. Delvina served for 18 years as the executive director of the Council on African Canadian Education and as an Afrocentric education policy advisor to the Nova Scotia Department of Education. Since 2013, Delvina has been on the board of directors of Oxfam Canada and has been involved for decades with Oxfam activism in Halifax. She has taught education, policy, pedagogy of inclusion, diversity in education, and multicultural education methods and practices at several post-secondary institutions, including Dalhousie University and Mount St. Vincent University. Demonstrating her true commitment to lifelong learning and to continuing to contribute to her extensive experience to international development, Delvina is currently a PhD student in international development at St. Mary's University, Halifax, where her dissertation examines reparations for the Caribbean as a development strategy to overcome the legacy of enslavement, colonization, and cultural genocide. So very impressive, Delvina, and thank you so much for your very wise words. And we're very, very happy to have awarded you this award.
Thank you.
And just you were able to say that without tears. I had to turn off my camera, but thank you so much for telling us more about Shirley and for being here today.
Well, I have years of practice of choking back the tears at this point, and I wondered if that was why you stepped away, and I was tempted to as well, but you know, her spirit lives on.
Yeah.
I do have to take my leave now because I am working today, teaching tiny humans. So thank you so much for allowing me to be included.
Thanks so much, Pam.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thanks everyone. Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, really nice way to start this day. So next we have our panel discussion, which will be moderated by Valerie Pilgrim. So I'm going to read about Valerie, and then she'll take over for the next half hour. So Valerie Pilgrim is the manager of Indigenous Student Resource Center at the Office of Indigenous Affairs at Memorial University in Newfoundland, Labrador. Valerie has been the manager of that center since November 2018. Prior to this, she served in the capacity of International Student Advisor with the Internationalization Office at Memorial University from 2014 to 2018. And she is grateful for and has learned a lot from her experiences at Memorial, even when she was hired by Memorial for her first position as Aboriginal Liaison Officer from 2011 to 2014. Valerie has insightful and fond memories working with Inuit Keparit Kanyatami, the National Inuit Organization in Ottawa, who represent the Inuit regions in the north, as well as wonderful experiences working with the Nunatsiavut government. She attended one semester at Memorial. However, her Bachelor of Arts degree, Anthropology and Sociology, is from the University of New Brunswick in Fredericks. She also holds a Master of Philosophy degree, Interdisciplinary, from the University of Oslo in Norway, where she lived with her young daughter for 2.5 years in the early 2000s. Valerie is proud of her roots, having grown up in Nain, Nunatsiavut, in Northern Labrador, and identifies as Halenangayuk. And I know I've been learning a lot of Mi'kmaq words, but there's some more work I need to do, Valerie, so I'd love for you to say that when you come on. It's essentially Inuit and settler ancestry. And Valerie is also the proud mother of 2 children, Dominique and Kirsten, who are both well-traveled and well-rounded individuals. Now over to you, Valerie. Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle. And thank you, Jennifer and Janelle and ACIC for this opportunity. Congratulations to Delvina. And thank you, Elder Joe, again, for your welcome and your presence here today, of course. Just quickly, Atili, hi, Valerie Uvunga. So basically, welcome again and to the Iceberg session 3. And I'm the moderator and will read out the bios now. And I have to apologize upfront for any mispronunciations. But again, thank you for the opportunity. So the first bio I'm going to read is Ashley Copage, sorry. and afterwards, I'll have Ashley give her thoughts on how do we create a climate just world. So Ashley Copage is a program manager for Mi'kmaq Green Communities program for the Confederacy of Mainland Mi'kmaq. The MGCP works to assist Mi'kmaq communities reach their goals to become greener, cleaner, and more sustainable with a focus on recycling, reduction of waste, and waste diversion. Ashley is from Sabanakati First Nation, but is currently living in Rhines Creek, Nova Scotia. She graduated from Mount St. Vincent University in 2018, receiving a Bachelor of Science in Applied Human Nutrition. She is currently completing a graduate diploma in education part-time at Cape Breton University. Ashley has a strong interest in inclusive education, sustainability, and food sovereignty, which has led her to the Confederation of Mainland Mi'kmaq. In her spare time, she has been found in her garden, baking something sweet or exploring beautiful Mi'kmaq with her partner and 2 dogs. So Ashley, I'll turn it over to you.
Hey, thank you. So I'll just share my screen here. I have a presentation. Can everybody see that okay? And so I think the format is I have 5 minutes and then we'll switch over and then I have 5 minutes later again. So in the first 5 minutes, I'll just give kind of like a background and kind of set the stage for the second part of the presentation. So as Valerie said, I'm from the Mi'kmaq Green Communities program. I've been there for about 2.5 years. So I've really been privileged to see the program grow over the last few years. So without further ado, I'm from the Confederacy Mainland Mi'kmaq, and we're a tribal council that's in Millbrook Mi'kmaq community in Nova Scotia. and we serve the 8 mainland communities, 8 mainland Mi'kmaq communities. And so you can see on the map there, the 8 communities that we serve, and it was incorporated in 1986, so we've been around for a few years, and there's a variety of programs and services that the Confederacy offers, from health and wellness, history and culture, and then we have a quickly growing environmental department with aquatics, resources, fisheries management, forestry, climate action, and then my program as well. So my program is the Mi'kmaq Green Communities Program. And as Valerie said, we work to assist Mi'kmaq communities to reach their goals to become greener, cleaner, more sustainable, and our focus is on solid waste management. So we started in 2016 in that fiscal year, and we've grown ever since. So we started as just one person in office, and now we're a team of 6. So this is our team right now. So I'm the program manager, and I just kind of help run things. And then on the right there's Keaton. He's our project coordinator. And then in the middle, we have Alfred Young. He's our field and marine debris technician. And then we also have joining us this week, we're really excited, 2 community relation officers who help with the on-the-ground work in the field, and then an events coordinator that helps us with our event greening activities. And then I just have a timeline here. So in 2015, the funding that started our program came out from the federal government, and that's when they identified solid waste management in Mi'kmaq community, or sorry, in Aboriginal communities, Mi'kmaq specifically, Nova Scotia, as our priority. And so that kind of gave us the boost to get started, and we're in the 5th and final year right now. So in 2016, we wanted to start, this was before my time, so I don't know all the details, but basically we wanted to find out where the communities were, what was needed, what they wanted, what was going good, what was going maybe not so good. So we did a needs assessment, and from that needs assessment, we wanted to build our program. We also did an awareness campaign just to make sure community members knew we were there and knew who to get in contact with if they had any suggestions for programming or questions, concerns, or if they just wanted some education. And then we also started our diversion center study. And a diversion center is just basically a place you can bring waste before it goes to its end-of-life facility, like a landfill. And then my last slide in this first half of the presentation. So when we got our needs assessments, we did one for every mainland Mi'kmaq community, and we also did Cape Breton as well. And so what we found when we did this is that the barriers to solid waste management we were seeing, it was different in each community, but like the main themes were that there were no bylaws in the communities, or if there were bylaws, it was really difficult to have them enforced in a way that worked well for the communities. Also, there were some problems with the service agreements between waste haulers and the community members. It was either a really unfair agreement that overcharged community members, it made it really expensive. Other things, like some communities had really great service agreements. Some communities couldn't find their service agreements, and if they did, it was really difficult to get out of them. There was weird clauses in them, so that was a barrier. Some communities also had poor relationships with their municipalities for many reasons, definitely not all related to solid waste, but that was a really big barrier, especially for education and awareness. In Nova Scotia, municipalities are responsible for solid waste. So they do a lot of education to homeowners and residents about what goes where. And if you're in the Mi'kmaq community, you're not getting that, you don't have anybody to teach you, so how are you supposed to know? And so that led to a lot of issues with sorting and also pests. Not pets, sorry, pests. So rats were getting into the bins, or crows were coming down. They were seeing there was compost in the garbage and they were throwing it everywhere, stuff like that. And then also there were some problems with illegal dump sites in the communities. And that could be people coming from outside the community because the bylaws weren't so great, or even people didn't know where to put things. So they would just put them in their backyard and then they just stayed there. So that's what we found. And then we kind of built all of our programming from there. And so maybe Valerie, I'll pass it back to you. Stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Ashley, for your presentation on the Mi'kmaq Green Communities Program. Thank you. I'm going to introduce the next two individuals who are with us today for our Iceberg 3 session. And I just wanted to throw in there that I come from a place of land and snow and icebergs. I grew northern parts of the province that I live in, at least in Nunatsiavut. But I'll just share that our next two presenters, first of all, are of the South Rupununi in Guyana. Ms. Realine became involved with the South Rupununi District Council to support the rights of her people and work to ensure their rights to their lands are recognized. Ms. Realine was part of a core set of youth who lobbied the SRDC to organize a Wapichan Youth Conference 3 years ago and has been instrumental in the establishment of the SRDC youth team or youth arm. In 2020, Jacinta participated in the first ever Rupununi Indigenous Women's Conference, focusing on Indigenous women's empowerment and environment. Jacinta is currently a part-time local broadcaster. Through this medium, she is able to reach her peers to share messages on important issues, especially as they relate to land and resource management. She has aspirations of becoming a communications professional to tell the stories of the Wapichan people, especially women. Jacinta's public speaking experience includes community speaking engagements with the South Rupununi District Council youth group and the Rupununi Indigenous Women's Conference, and her broadcasting work with Radio Ishelton. Joshua Fredericks, who's the chairperson of the South Rupununi District Council Youth Arm and Youth Representative. Joshua is an Indigenous youth from the Muscogee tribe of the South Rupununi. He lives in the village of Shulinab, where he went to primary school. The 19-year-old Joshua spent 2 years teaching in a remote village after successfully completing his secondary education. The time spent at teaching taught him valuable lessons about the struggles of education in Indigenous communities. With limited resources, he had to find innovative ways helping the school and the community deal with numerous challenges. That passion and attitude to promote the work for the development of his people has propelled Joshua into has propelled Joshua into different leadership positions. He is currently serving as the youth chairperson for his local village youth group and the chairperson for the South Rupununi District Council Youth Arm. He plays a critical role also supporting his village council in its efforts to fight the spread of COVID-19. Joshua spends his leisure time reading books and playing indoor games. His relationship with his creator. Joshua has ambitions to one day become a doctor and return to serve his people. In the meantime, he is motivated as an Indigenous young person to work for the development of his fellow Indigenous brothers and sisters. So welcome, Jacinta and Joshua. I'll pass it over to you for your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon to all panelists and those who are streaming us live. It's a pleasure to be part of the ACIC Symposium 2020, Just Climate Action, Gender Democracy, and Local Movements. I am Jacinta from Meshava Village, located in the Wapchana territory, and along with me is my colleague.
Hello, my name is Fredericks. I am from Sulana Village, also located in the Wapchana territory. It's a pleasure to be on the symposium as well.
Next.
Yeah.
Who are we? We identify as Wapchana. We are one of 9 Indigenous peoples in Guyana. Indigenous peoples in Guyana make up 10% or just over 80,000 of total population. Next. We are located in South America, and here we have a map showing part of South America. Next slide. In the southern Guyana, there is a map on the left, and the one highlighted in the green is the territory of the Wapchana. On the right, we have a map of Wapchana territory, which occupies 28,632 square kilometers. Next. Wapchana Ridge is a large network of rivers and creeks connecting the Amazon to the Guyana Shield. Next.
Governing the Wapchana territory and also the Wapchanos is the South Rupununi District Council, SRDC. It is the only legally gazetted district council in the country under the 2006 Amendment Act, which represented 21 communities in the Wapchana territory. Next. Next. The SRC was formed to collaborate and also to work along with the leaders of the Wapchana territory to help to strengthen and fight for legal recognition of their lands, and also to address other related issues that affect the Wapchanos in order to find relevant solutions. Next. 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 In the SRDC, South Rupununi District Council, there are several arms. One, we speak of the youth arm. The youth arm represents the youths and we hear their voices. Also, we voice our opinions there, and also we engage in decision making. And also we are supporting the SRDC to secure our lands and environmental and conservation management. At every year, the youth conference is held, and at every 2 years, we have elections for a new co-chair and also a chairperson. Here we have a video outlining the features of the Wapchana Ridge, Wapchana territory. Play. I do hope the other panelists are hearing.
I'm sorry, but we're not hearing the video.
Ms. Janelle? Ms. Janelle?
Well, someone is sharing our screen. We're not sharing our screen here. I think Ms. Janelle is sharing our screen for us.
Hi there. Yes, I am. And I have myself unmuted, hoping you'll be able to hear it, but I don't think that's coming through. So I'm glad that there are subtitles. I'm hoping people will be able to follow along that way. And I can share this presentation later too when we send out the recordings.
Thank you, Janelle.
Sure.
Yeah.
As you have seen in the video, unfortunately, you weren't able to hear the audio of it. As you've seen in the video, it has shown that how we, the Wapchana in the territory, live and its livelihood, and the beauty of the Wapchan territory. So, having discovered on this topic climate change, we decided to get our livelihoods and dependence. So here, you will learn about our livelihoods as Wapchana. Majority of the Wapchana are farmers. And we do farming in the forest. We plant cassava, corn, rice, yam, and a lot more. So we also hunt and fish. Hunting and fishing in the forests and the savannas. And we use the rivers, creeks for fishing. We depend on the forest for gathering crafts, gathering foods from the forest, gathering traditional medicines or herbal medicines from the forest. And one of our customs is Wapchana. We have the manure when we need to work to be completed, especially farming or building a house, or especially when we want to clean our environment, we have the manure, or it's also called self-help. We depend on fruit plants, fruit trees in our communities, and it's abundant, and we enjoy these fruits during their season. And yes, these fruits are free. We can go to one tree, pick some mangoes, pick some cashews, pick some cherries, and it's free. We also do cattle rearing. Due to loss of land, heat stress, decreased soil moisture, and an increased incidence of pests, increased soil erosion, and lots of crops caused by increased fluency of heavy rainfall and drought, and causing heat stress on livestock caused by higher temperature And this changed the agriculture production and have negative impact on us, the people, economically. We also have wildfires. Wildfires contribute to the destruction of our forests, destroying the habitats that live in the forest, destroying the homes of birds, destroying the homes of games that lives in the forest. Wildfires in the savanna destroying all the habitats that live in the savanna, causing them to move further away from where the Wapchu now live. Next slide. Next slide. We have reduced freshwater availability and pollution of our headwaters. And in our territory, we have mining going on, and it's not too far from our community, which is Aishalton. And around this area, we have the headwaters which flow into the main rivers of Guyana. Mining has caused pollution to our water. We recently did tests on our waters where we found out that the water that our people are using today contains mercury, which is unhealthy to us people and even to the animals. Next slide. Next. So forests lost due to increased mining. In our territory, as said, mining has been happening, and mining has caused lots of destruction to our forests. A huge area within our territory has been destroyed. And today, if you can see the picture in the background, that's what's happening in our area. And especially in this area called Maradi, you cannot find the creeks that were there before where our ancestors used to go fishing. Today, you can't find those creeks. All you can find is huge pits with dirty water. And you can't find healthy things around this area anymore. And we, the people, are scared to drink those water. Next slide.
Okay, as you heard from Jacinta, those are the main effects what we deal with from climate change. And the SRDC was engaged in a lot of things and what we have done to create a climate just world and also to reduce those effects of climate change and how it's been affecting the indigenous people. Good. So here we have some increased awareness among Wapchan peoples of their rights, like the right to safeguard the clean water, the headwaters, as Jacinta said, and also to reduce the rights to secure lands, the right to sustain traditional knowledge. And there we advocate for the protection of the headwaters and monitoring of the rivers and borders. As Jacinta said, that we found out that our water is polluted of mercury. There we collaborate with partners like WWF for protection of our fresh water and conservation management. Last year, 2019, we launched the freshwater protection program at the youth conference. There we partner with WWF, where we are now monitoring our fresh water. And what is the SRDC doing to create a climate just world? Upon saying just now,
Hi, everyone. I think we might have lost Jacinta and Joshua, so we'll just give them maybe a few minutes to come back. Okay, so we're gonna go on to Lauren and, oh, Joshua and Jacinta, are you there? Darn it.
Yes,
Yes.
we just had a connection.
Connection.
Internet connection.
Hello.
Hello?
All right, keep going. I'll pop the slide back up.
Okay, yes, as I was saying, we collaborate with WWF to protect our headwaters, which are the main source of water into the Wapchan territory. Why we protect these waters is because most of us, we depend on the rivers and creeks for our livelihood of water. We fish, we gain our food from there, and also the animals drink those waters. So we partner with WWF to build capacity, in particular on gender and inclusion, increasing the level of participation of the different social groups in the decision-making process of natural resources and environmental governance. Next slide. Next. Other than partnering, the SRDC have done also awareness of traditional methods to control savanna fires. We create a fire calendar, as you can see in the picture below. There you see the fire calendar being locally made by the elders among the Wapchan village. Developed seasonal fire calendars, as I just mentioned, institute fire brigades to control wildfires, and also continuous transfer of traditional knowledge to youths to ensure traditional knowledge is sustained. Why we are doing that is because long ago we used to use our traditional knowledge to control wildfires, but now the youths are unstable of their knowledge and they're just burning the fire widely, and that's causing destruction of our forests and also our farming lands, while savanna fires happening, killing all the habitats of the wildlife. Good. Change. Next slide.
We also work to achieve gender equality through building capacity on gender issues within the organization, including youths and elders. We adopted a gender policy, the only community-based organization to do so in Guyana, which has informed projects, activities, and decision-making. So, formation of its youth arm, its specific mandate, as well as Wapchan Women Movement, women's arm of the South Rupununi District Council. So we had considered gender equality one of the main things within the organization, where we feel that especially the women are left out in decision making. And so the organization has took a step forward to have gender equality realized in the organization, where women can be part of decision making, where women can also play roles similar to men or on the same level with the men. And the formation of the youth arm, as said, we have the youth arm where both males and females participate and work along with the leaders of the South Rupununi District Council in decision making. Next. The SRDC had made tremendous efforts to promote local movement around climate justice, well, strong relationship within the Wapchan leaders on all fronts to secure land and resources conservation and protection. We have within our Wapchan territory, we have the Wapchan leaders who are known as knowledge holders. So all these traditions, custom beliefs that we, the youths, are unstable of today. So they are knowledge holders of how to secure our land, the resources and protection. Unlike we today, we might say that we know a little about our land, but our elders who play a vital role in this has seen what was there before us, how our environment was, saying that today we say that the sun is very hot, and you might ask why. Long ago, our foreparents enjoyed the climate. It wasn't that hot as this, and they say that we today are contributing to climate change, where our topic or our theme in this symposium is to create a climate just world. So we also mobilize youths through the South Rupununi District Youth Arm, where we have youths involved in helping the organization to obtain information or obtain data from our elders through projects which the youths are carrying on today. We also have advancing focus on women and women's issues through the Watching movement, Watching Women movement. So as we said, focusing on women in this organization, we have seen that they had really input to the organization in helping the leaders of the organization to make decisions, where they share their ideas. As they said, that sometimes males are the only one to make decision making, but an important concern related to climate justice is that those who are the least responsible for climate change suffer the gravest consequences. So, as most people have said, that women are the ones who suffer climate change the most. Yes, and we also have continuous environmental monitoring of land and resources. As said before, the SRDC has implemented a monitoring program where our local people are being able to monitor the land and the resources, monitoring the fresh waters, monitoring mining area where they had found out that mercury has been in the water. That's the way we had found out that we are drinking water that contains mercury. So we using social media, radio, videos, and social media to communicate issues, risks, and call to action. Well, today the South Rupununi District Council has a Facebook page where they update the world about things they're doing, work they're doing, what are some of their issues, what are some of the things they had done within the Watching territory. So yes, we use the radio as said, and some of the youths also work along to help produce videos where they can show the outer world that what we, the indigenous people in the Watching territory, are facing. Next slide. Oh, well, this has come to the end of our presentation, and let us fight together to seek climate justice. So, to all our panelists out there, I hope you've learned and see what it's all about, an experience of sharing and learning from the others about tradition, things they're facing in their community. Some might be relating to us. Some of you might be experiencing the same thing as we do. So this symposium has given us the opportunity to learn from others and also share what we face or some of the things that we are doing as Indigenous youths from the Watching territory and from Guyana.
Also, if you have any questions, you can we could have discussion time. We have.
Thank you, Jacinta and Joshua. We will have question and answers after Lauren does her quick presentation there. I apologize too for the technical issues. It's a great time for us all to remember that patience and adaptability in this time and age is very important characteristics to think about. But thank you, Joshua and Jacinta. Your presentation was very insightful and colorful, and Symposium, a recent graduate from the University of New Brunswick's Interdisciplinary Leadership Program with a minor in International Development. Lauren has spent the past few years working with nonprofits in the areas of community improvement and public engagement. Lauren's passion and career interests lie in finding intersectional approaches to combating global crises, and she is looking forward to continuing her education in the area next fall. As an advocate for the SDGs and inclusivity within the movement towards sustainability, Lauren has loved being involved with Engineers Without Borders and Extinction Rebellion youth. In her free time, Lauren can be found deep in the woods climbing another mountain, exploring the city with pals, or curled up with a great book. Lauren, welcome, and thank you for being here.
Hi, Lauren. If it makes sense, you might just log out and log back in.
Frozen still? Hello?
Oh, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I've been by all morning, so hopefully it will work for me, but I
Oh, shoot, we're losing you, Lauren. It might make sense for you to log off and log back in.
oh, hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, great. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. So sorry, I've been struggling with Wi-Fi all morning.